Goodreads? You don't need no stinking Goodreads. There are better options available on how to track your reading. Hello, welcome to my channel, Another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg, and today I want to talk about how to track your reading on the web or on an application. The most common application used for tracking your reading is, of course, Goodreads. A lot of people have problems with Goodreads. I have my own problems. I will provide a link in the description on why I personally dislike Goodreads. It has to do with the fact that in the past, the librarians at Goodreads have deleted audiobooks from my account, so I stopped using them. Other people just don't like the fact that it is owned by Amazon. Still others don't like the gamification of reading, the fact that you're always challenging yourself to read more and not necessarily read better. But this is not about Goodreads. This is talking about what other options you have available to you. The most common second alternative is Storygraph. I have tried Storygraph a number of years ago. It did not really fit my needs, so I never got too far into it. I used it for about 6 months, about 2 years ago, and then just quit. There are other applications. One is called Hardcover. I tried that for about 2 days and just gave up. There is a newer site out there called Fable. It has some of the issues that I had with Storygraph that I did not quite like. I'm still using it for a book club, and I will see. But the one thing I wanted to point out is that there is a different way to track your reading, and that is LibraryThing. LibraryThing is mostly a web-based site. They do have an app that can work on your phone. I have it on my iPhone. The app is a little outdated. I prefer just using the web page, and that works just fine on my iPhone. Now, this video is not going to be a how to use LibraryThing. This is an introduction to it. It just says, this site is out there, and I think it will work very well for some people. What I am going to do in this video is not a how to use LibraryThing. What I want to do is just introduce people to what some of the basic features are, and maybe get people interested in do they want to use it for themselves? Do they want to give up Goodreads? Do they want to give up Storygraph? Because there are lots of different options for people to track their reading and track their own book collection. So this is my plug for LibraryThing. I am not affiliated with LibraryThing in any way. I'm just doing this because I like it. I like it better than Goodreads. I like it better than Storygraph. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about it. And afterwards, you can decide for yourself if you want to join LibraryThing. LibraryThing was founded in 2005 by Tim Spalding in Portland, Maine. He is the main owner. In 2006, Abe Books, the online bookseller, purchased a 40% share. In 2008, Amazon purchased Abe Books. So if you are an Amazon hater, there is a link to Amazon on LibraryThing. Now, the reasons I did not get along well with Storygraph when I tried it is that they are mostly new books. You can add a lot of new books and current books, but once you get into the older books. They're a little more flaky. You have to manually add those books to it. And if you make a mistake adding that book, you put a wrong description, you do a typo in the title, you can't fix that. It's sort of stuck there until you email one of their librarians to fix it for you. Not my kind of thing. Now, LibraryThing is essentially a website to catalog your personal library. Or if you're an academic or a professional library, you can subscribe to LibraryThing and use it there. LibraryThing is free to home users. I really like that. LibraryThing does not have any advertising on it. I really, really like the lack of advertising. And it is very versatile. When you are looking for a book to add, you have a number of sources you can choose from. Amazon is one of the most frequent choices because their book catalog is rather extensive. You can get out-of-print books, books that have not been read by many people in a number of years, but you can add it to your catalog if you have a copy of that book. That is something I truly appreciate. If you don't want to use Amazon, you can source other libraries. You can source the Library of Congress to import your book data. You can use Amazon UK, Amazon Canada, or a host of other libraries like the Seattle Public Library. Lots of choices to import your book data from. Once your books are added to LibraryThing, there are a number of ways you can personalize your experience. LibraryThing uses tags. Tags is just a short text describing anything about the book you want. You can describe the genre, such as horror, science fiction, fantasy, anything you want. You can even say Mississippi if the book you're reading or the book is about Mississippi. Anything you want can be used as a tag. There are no rules. There's also some intelligence behind tags because LibraryThing has many users and people will describe the same thing in different words, such as I use science fiction to describe my science fiction books. Other people will use sci-fi. But when you search on LibraryThing, say, give me a search of science fiction, it is smart enough to show you science fiction tags and sci-fi tags. That is very useful because there are so many ways people can describe the same thing. There's even an option for you to add more to that search engine saying sci-fi is the same as science fiction, is the same as SF. You have that ability. And that is another great feature of LibraryThing is that you are not necessarily reliant on the official librarians to do the back work for you. It also features this thing called collections. Collections is just essentially a folder that you put books into. It could be as simple as read, want to read, favorites, and you can add or drop as many collections as you want. As I said, there are some default collections that they give you. You don't have to use them, and you can add more of your own. For me, when I put collections, the thing I really like to do is put a year, like 2023, 2024. And whenever I read a book in that year, I just add it to that collection. So I can go browsing my collections and say, what books did I read in 2003? I click on that, and it'll show you everything that I read. Because although LibraryThing is primarily a cataloging system where you can catalog the books that you own, there is also a feature to track what you read. It is not the primary function of LibraryThing, but it works just fine. And you can also add multiple reading dates because, sometimes you reread a book and you can say whatever amount of times that you've read this book and the dates that you started it and the dates that you finished it. LibraryThing can also give you recommendations. I don't often look at the recommendations because, to be honest, I have more books than I can read in a lifetime that I already own. I am on YouTube and I get lots of book recommendations anyway. So that is not a feature that I frequently look at. But if you are curious and you want book recommendations, the website will give you recommendations. There are also social features to LibraryThing. They're called groups. You join a group and they have these little chat features that you can talk about whatever it is. And the group is just started by a user. Some people start groups like read 50 books in a year. And then you can join that group and you can tell people in that group what books you are reading, what you think about it, and they can respond. Very common social media features. Now again, LibraryThing is not primarily a social media site, so this is just sort of a sideline that you get on the site. Again, it's mostly about cataloging your books and creating a list of what you own in your own library. I like all the features of LibraryThing. I like having a list of the books that I own. I like the fact that I can add a book and say, this book is a hardcover. This one is a paperback. This is digital. This is audio. And if you happen to own all those formats, you can have the book in your library multiple times. And one of the other features that I really like about LibraryThing is that you have the ability to edit your own books. Sometimes when you import a book, the data is just a little bit wonky. Sometimes the cover is not the same cover as your edition. And if you don't like the brand new movie edition of the book that you've owned for 10 years, you can browse through alternative covers and select the cover that you like. If that cover is not available on LibraryThing, you can search the internet until you find it. And then you can add that cover to their database. And that cover will be available to the next user. Because everyone on LibraryThing is a librarian. And I truly appreciate that feature because when I have my books, I'm a little bit anal. I like to have the right cover. I don't want the latest movie edition cover. And you are able to do that on a LibraryThing all on your own. You don't need special permission. Okay, that is my basic plug. I will leave my LibraryThing user in the description of this video. If you use LibraryThing and you want to look at my library, please feel free to do so. You can see every book that I have read since December of 1990. Thank you for watching and keep on reading.